Now we come to the standalone components. We will quickly take a look on the old way to defining components in a module, and afterwards we will take a look at standalone components. Everybody that already know how a module is structured can kind of skip that part, but for the rest we will quickly go over the different parts of a module that you know the basic of the old way to make a module. And of course you can still make a module, there are some reasons to do that, but yeah, we will quickly take a look on that. We have here the declarations. In the declarations you're defining components that the module should use. In that example we have the custom table component, the custom name cell component, and the custom raw component. You can also define directives here if your project or your module needs them to be running. Then we have a provider section. The provider section defines services or provides them, which means every component you're defining in the declarations from now on will use that service instance. That's important if you have a service that, for example, handling data, and the custom table should share that data between the different components. We have an imports part where you're defining modules. In that example, it's for material. And we have exports. That's important for the place where you import the custom table module, because if you want to use the custom table component in that example, it has to be exported from the module that get imported somewhere else. Yeah, all of that components in that example here are different components, which means in the workspace we have different files for them, where of course there are definitions for the template and all of that TypeScript stuff. The modules that we imported here coming from a library, that could be the case, but you of course can still import also modules that are not part of a library, that could be part of your own project. But in that example we're importing some modules from Angular material that you already have seen, that there are some stuff that you're importing from libraries, and yeah, could also be a module that you're importing in your custom table module for that example here. And all together you can see there we're defining different parts of the applications from the libraries to the own project definitions in the module. So, and now we take a look at the new standard approach that you should choose in the best way. It's the standalone component way. You can make a component to a standalone component if you're defining inside of the annotation of the component standalone equals true. That makes a component a standalone component. What you then have to do is to import the modules inside of the imports of the component. But now, as you can see here, we import also the custom raw component. And that's only possible because in that example here, we say that the custom raw component is a standalone component at its own. And what standalone components are doing is, it gets a kind of module. And that helps really when you're lazy loading some stuff, because then Angular knows what needs to be imported in which situations. And the providers, you also can provide here, but the problem here would be that the servers then only would be defined for that custom table component, which means providers in the standalone component way can be a problem if you want to have different instances of a service in different sections of the application. As I said, this custom work component is a standalone component on its own. That's important for that import, because if not, all of that would not be possible, because the imports still needs standalone components or modules. That's very important for that new approach. We have a few exceptions. I already have kind of said that if, for example, we want to have data splitted or the same instance for custom table component, custom list component, and custom selection component, for example. That's other components, but I want to make a quick talk about the possible problems or exceptions that there are. First of all, you can define the service provide in root. In the service, you can define in the annotation of the add service, you can define provide in root. That's normally the default if you're creating a service. And what that done or doing is that it provides one instance of the service, and every component will have the same instance. But if you really, for example, here the custom table component, every time you have this custom table component, it should be an own instance of the service. You have a second approach where the modules then get effect again. Because with a module, that means you make a module in the old way with the components, the declarations, and so on, and then importing that module. Because otherwise, it's not possible to have the same service instance in that way. But you can, of course, make every component that it declarates in the module as a standalone component. It's still be possible, but yeah, you need a module in between to make that thing happen. Ready to learn Angular 19, 20, and 21. This course covers everything new in these latest versions. From hydration, event replay, resource API, signal forms, we cover it all. You will get a complete playground app showcasing all features. Plus, we will build a weather app from scratch to implement everything hands-on. Full source code for both projects included. Check the link in the description.